More than 1,200,000 people have been illegally deported from Ukraine to Russia since the start of the full-scale invasion, human rights activists say. Kharkiv citizen Lyubov Bobro was among them. Fleeing with her 3 children from enemy shelling, she was about to leave through Russian Belgorod, but the Russians, under the guise of evacuation, deceived the family and sent them to Siberia. All of them miraculously managed to return home. We were taken to the border of the Trans-Urals and Western Siberia to the town of Kurgan. There was almost no chance of getting out. Then my eldest daughter, who stayed in Ukraine, made a fuss and contacted the Ministry of Reintegration. Lyubov Bobro, the resident of Kharkiv, in comments to the Ministry of Reintegration of the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. Many families fell into the trap of so-called evacuation when really they were simply taken to Russia, human rights activists say. Those who passed through harsh filtration dispersed into different and often remote regions of the aggressor country. Some managed to stay with relatives, while others were assigned to temporary accommodation centers.
Sometimes there were elements of kidnapping, when, for example, people were gathered for evacuation and departure to Zaporizhia, but eventually the buses went to the Rostov region of Russia, and it was such a manipulative deception to take people into Russian-controlled territory. There were women, children, and they ended up in filtration camps.
However, some regions of Russia are already beginning to get rid of Ukrainians. The other day, local authorities in the Russian city of Pskov began to deport Mariupol residents back to the occupied and completely destroyed home cities. This was reported on August 15 by the advisor of the mayor of Mariupol, Petro Andriushenko.
On Saturday, 60 people from Mariupol were forcibly loaded into 2 trailer cars and sent to Rostov-on-Don in Russia, where the Donetsk People's Republic authorities would meet them and take them home. Most of these people's houses were ruined as a result of bombing, and they will be forced to live on the street or break into the apartments of other Mariupol residents who are in the evacuation. That is a perfect real-life example of Russia's care. Modern Russia is not even capable of organizing deportations, no matter how cynical the truth sounds. Petro Andriushenko, advisor to the mayor of Mariupol, on Telegram.
Since the start of the full-scale war, Russian invaders have forcibly relocated more than 400,000 Ukrainian children from occupied cities, and only 50 of them were able to return home, according to the Ukrainian Ministry of Reintegration. Unfortunately, it is almost impossible to leave the territory of Russian Federation at will. Ukrainians remain trapped without money, communication, and often without documents for themselves or a child. Human rights activists urge people to call the 24-hour hotline of the Ministry of Reintegration at 1548 to get help. Reported by Anastasia Tarnavska, Vlada Tsurkan, UATV News.